Hi everyone, this is Roland. Want to make a short video just to tell you what I'm up to. I'm writing a new book and it's going to be about heaven and hell. And hell is something that most people are already familiar with. They've been in hell. Maybe your home was a hell. Your marriage was a hell or is a hell. Maybe your workplace is a hell. Your the suffering that you go through with some illness is a living hell. And around the world, you know what's going on around the world. A lot of places it's a living hell. Well, what you need to find is heaven. Christ said something interesting. He was talking to Peter, and he was asking the disciples, "Who do you say that I am?" And some of them said, "Well, you're this or you're that." Who do people say that I am? That's what he asked them. Who do people say that? Well, some people say you're Elijah. Some people say you're this, you're that. But then he said to Peter, he said, "Who do you say that I am?" And Peter said, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." And Jesus said, "Blessed are you, because flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father in heaven." He said, "Upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it." The gates of hell. In other words, the power of hell. The gates of hell symbolizes hell. But there is a hell, and it gets deeper and it gets darker. How do you think that the world becomes, and families and marriages and institutions and all the awful things you see around you, how do you suppose that it gets that way? It's because something has come out of hell, and it is in the world, and it's doing all of this stuff. And people, unfortunately, are its dupes and its pawns. It gets inside of people and operates through them, and they are like zombies. And they think they're operating in their own best interests, but they're not, and they do a lot of harm. So life can be a living hell, but you don't want it to be that way. So what you need is to find the kingdom of God. And how are you going to do that? Well, first of all, so how did it come to pass that your life has become a living hell? Well, you were born into fallen conditions already. You inherited it, the family you grew up in and so on. You can't help that. But along the way, you made some mistakes, common mistakes that people make. And these common mistakes allowed hell to get inside and also made you subject to hell. See, that's the thing. You don't want to be subject to hell. You want to be subject to God. So how do we become subject to hell? Well, there's a couple of ways that it happens. And the most common way is by way of resentment and hating other people. Hating parents, hating other kids, hating anyone. And the emotion of hate is resentment. That's it, resentment. Resentment opens the door to all the bad things, and it makes you sensitive. See, but how did it start? How did you become subject to that sort of thing that preys upon you and torments you and teases you and goads you on? How did it happen? And how did it happen that you become so sensitive to every little thing? And people look at you a certain way, or they say something a certain way. People even become sensitive to sounds and to smells and to things. And how did this come to happen that we're so sensitive to mental teas and external teas and to substances and smells and so on? How did you become so sensitive? I'll give you a clue. You know what the answer is: resentment. It puts you in a lower state of mind, a lower state of being, where you become more sensitive, thereby more nervous, more irritable, and so on. So what are you going to do? You have to see that resentment is not a good thing. You have to let it go. And it probably helps when you become an adult and you have kids of your own and married and so on. Now all of a sudden you find yourself acting just like your parents did. And then all of a sudden you realize, oh, my mom and dad, they didn't really want to be that way. They couldn't help themselves any more than you can help yourself. So when you see that, that'll soften your soul. It'll make you amenable to reason. And reason, I'm reasoning with you now. Reason is let go of resentment. Let go of judgment. Let them go. Whatever happened, make it unimportant. Forget it. And when people say something or do something, overlook. Let it pass. That would be your number one thing you can do. So what am I doing? I'm writing. So you can see I'm writing some good stuff. And I'm also on the radio. I have some new stations. A big 50,000 watt station in Denver, Colorado. A beautiful station. It extends into 6 states. I'm on Saturday twice. And I'm on a big 50,000 watt station in Corpus Christi, Texas. Covers the entire southeast Texas coast, Gulf Coast, into Louisiana, and all the way down into Mexico. Big station. I'm on in Boston, Massachusetts. I can be heard in New York City. I'm on the air in San Francisco. I'm on the air in Southern California. I'm all over. Listen to my program. You got to watch my videos. You got to listen to my radio programs. You got to read some of my writings. Get some of my books. Read a little bit. Just read a little bit until you realize something. And when you realize something, then just take that realization with you. But most of all, you should get the meditation and get started on it. And it'll do you good, a lot of good.